Hey y'all, it's Diane with Shawcraft One and my old barn door and barn door treasures on eBay and Digital Diane Designs for digitals on Etsy. And I wanted to work in my faith journal today because I had something that happened to me last Wednesday that I wanted to share with y'all. And as y'all, most of you who watch my videos knows, last Thursday I had to leave and go to Georgia to be with my best friend whose mom passed away. And then over the weekend I went and celebrated my dad's birthday with him. So I was gone and I haven't had a chance to share this with y'all. So I wanted to work in the faith journal today and just kind of tell y'all a little bit about what happened. And I'm going to read in 1 Kings 19, verse 12. And this is where God is talking to Elijah. And Elijah is running scared because people are killing all the prophets of God. And so he tells God, I've been very zealous for you, and the children of Israel have forsaken the covenant, and they've thrown down their altars to you, and they've killed all of your prophets, and I'm the only one left, and they're trying to kill me too. And so God told him to go forth and stand on the mountain before the Lord. And so he did, and it says, behold, the Lord passed by. Now this is 1 Kings 19:11. Behold, the Lord passed by, and a great strong wind rent the mountains and broke into pieces the rocks before the Lord. But the Lord was not in the wind. And after the wind, an earthquake, but the Lord was not in the earthquake. And after the earthquake, a fire, but the Lord was not in the fire. And after the fire, a still small voice. So, he's going through all of this, and he's in this great amount of turmoil, and, he feels like he's running for his life. And God speaks to him in a still small voice. And basically he does that because it's a little more intimate, and also to let him know that his voice is not always in something loud or something chaotic or something that's going on around him. But sometimes it's the quiet voice that he hears, and that's God coming to him. So I've kind of been chewing on it for a little bit, and there's a lot going on in the world today, and with all the stuff that's going on with Ukraine and our economy, and there's lots of chaos going on in the world. And sometimes we find it hard to see the reasoning behind it, but we also find it hard to hear the voice of the Lord in the midst of all the chaos. And so I kind of been chewing on that. And I had I've had 2 incidences in my life where God spoke to me in a still small voice, and I didn't hear it. I heard it, but I didn't heed it until it was too late. And so I want to put something in the journal about his voice and about hearing his voice. So I'm just going to make a pretty page while I tell y'all the story of what happened to me and just kind of share, because, well, let me just share the story and then we'll go forward. But I just kind of want to do some simple collage, and I have this little plate full of really neat scraps. These are from a digital that I'm working on that has ephemera, like vintage ephemera that I've scanned in. And in the background of that ephemera, I have put like a coffee dyed paper and then some of my script overlays, so that when you get those digitals and you print them out, you can use them for the actual ephemera pieces that are in there, but you can also use the scraps, you know, to work in collages with or whatever. So anyway, I just tried to, the whole purpose of that is to make all of the paper usable pieces instead of just the ephemera pieces, and then you waste the other paper. So that just gives you pretty scraps that you can play with, and you don't waste your paper. So anyways, I'm going to go ahead and start working on the page. I want to just do a really simple collage on the page, and then we'll go from there while I tell you the story. So last Wednesday, I had to go to the post office because I had to reship a package, and it had to go to Hong Kong. And this package took forever to get to Hong Kong, and then it was rejected because they said they couldn't find the address. So I got the package back, and I had to take it to the post office to reship it. And I had to handwrite the, and this was for my friend Rose in Hong Kong, and she knows. Hey Rose, I hope you're watching, and if you're not, I love you anyway, and if you are, your package is on the way. But anyways, so I went to the post office. That's the whole point. I went to the post office to do this, and I had like 7 or 8 other packages I had to ship too, and so I took those with me. And so I get to the post office. And I get out of the car. I go around to the passenger side, and I get my bag of packages out and the box that I had to ship to Hong Kong. And I go inside. Well, I went to this, and when you go to the post office and drop off packages, there's this little drawer thing that you open and close. It's like a metal drawer, and it's really big, and you can put your packages in it. And so you put your packages in there, and then you close the drawer, and your packages go inside the post office for them to ship them for you. If you've already paid for your postage, which I had already paid for the postage on Etsy. So I could just drop them into that little slot thing. Well, so I go on inside the post office so that I can handwrite. I have to get a special form for international shipping, and I had to write in the information. And so I went inside, stood in line, and I finally got up to the lady, and I asked her for the form. And so she gave me the form and told me to step back to the back table to fill out the form. And so I did, and I had my keys in my hand, and I had my wallet in my hand, and then I had my box and the form in my hand. And so I stepped back to the little counter where you you fill out the information and everything. And so I stepped back there and filled out my form and took it back up to the lady, and she got it packaged up. Or it was already packaged, but she just got, all of the information, the correct information on it, so it would get actually shipped to the right address. And anyway, so we got all of that finished, and I head to the car. So I get to the car, and I get in, and my keys are nowhere to be found. I literally looked everywhere for my keys and could not find them anywhere. Okay, this is a printable from Ruby and Pearl XO. That's her name on Etsy and YouTube. And they're just like vintage wallpapers. And so I wanted to use some of this to add some color because I just think it's really pretty. So anyways, I'm looking for my keys, and I'm starting to get panicked because I've been looking for my keys for like 20 minutes. I emptied everything out of my purse. Still couldn't find them in there. I got out of the car, went around to the passenger side where I picked up the bag, looked for them there, couldn't find them anywhere in there. Like literally my keys were nowhere to be found. So about an hour and a half later, I went into the post office. The lady went to the back and went through all of the whole bin where I put those packages in the drawer. She took every single package out and put them into a new bin to see if she could find my keys. The keys were nowhere to be found. So I'm in a state of panic because this is on Wednesday. On Thursday, I'm supposed to leave and go to Georgia to visit, see my best friend because her mom has passed away. And so I'm in a bit of a panic. And so I'm like, where are my keys? And I'm just praying for the Lord to help me find my keys. And then it hit me. Before I got out of the car, when I turned my car off, when I first got to the post office, something said to me, leave your keys in the car. Now, I always leave my keys in the car. It's not like it's that big of a deal, but for some reason that day, I didn't leave my keys in the car because I didn't want somebody to steal my car, which normally I could care less. I have insurance. If I'm just running in somewhere, I'll run in and leave the keys in the car. No big deal. But for some reason that day, and even after I heard something tell me, leave your keys in the car, I still grabbed them out and ran on in. After all of this happened, so to finish telling you the story, real quick. So basically, I had to call my husband to leave work and come to the post office and get me because I had no way home. I didn't have an extra key, and I'm supposed to leave the next day and go to Georgia, and I'm panicking because I'm thinking, if I get a locksmith, it's going to cost me an arm and a leg to get a key made. If I can get it made in the morning when I'm supposed to leave to go, out of state. And so anyways, just all these things were running through my head. And so I was in a little bit of a panic, and I was just really, really frustrated because, y'all, I'm 49 years old, and that's the first time I've ever lost my keys. Like, I've never in my life lost my keys until that day. So I was super stressed out about it. And so I texted Jeff and I said, can you please come get me? Told him what happened. And the only thing I could figure was that someone had picked my keys up and took them with them. Like when I stepped to that little back counter and filled out my form, I'm thinking I laid my keys down to write because my keys were in my left hand and I'm left-handed. And so I'm thinking I laid my keys down there and forgot to pick them up, and then somebody else just picked them up thinking they were theirs. So anyways, 3 hours later, literally 3 hours later, Sunshine gets there to pick me up. And so he was afraid that somebody had picked the keys up in the post office thinking that I would leave my car there and then they could come back and steal it. And so I had him look again everywhere. He couldn't find them. And so then we went inside to talk to the people in the post office about it. And anyways, I finally had to just leave them my name and number and ask them if they would call me if the keys showed up anywhere. And so we went outside, and I said, well, I'm going to get all of my stuff out of the car, anything that has my name or address on it. And he said, why? And I said, so if they come back and steal it, they don't have my address. And he said, why would you leave it here? I have a key to your car. Well, my heart absolutely fell because I'm sitting here thinking the whole time I have the only key to my car. I totally forgot that he had a key to it. And so he was like, just calm down. I've got a key. So you can just use my key. So, so with all of that being said, after the fact, after everything that happened, I realized that I had heard the voice of the Lord because he was trying to tell me, don't take your keys inside, leave your keys in the car, because he knew what was going to happen. And I didn't have a clue, And so I guess the whole point of it is to say, sometimes he talks to us. We just don't recognize his voice. We hear his voice. I heard it loud and clear. Leave your keys in the car. But I thought it was just me thinking that, because sometimes I'm just too lazy to get my keys out of the car and carrying them around. I mean, really, truly, and honestly, if we're being truthful. And so, and then it was like And when Jeff called me on his way to pick me up, I told him, I said, it's my fault. God told me not to get my keys out of the car, and I did it anyway. So it's my fault. The keys are gone, you know. But the whole point is, sometimes we don't hear the voice of the Lord, or we hear it, but we don't recognize that it's His voice, because it sounds so much like our own thoughts that we just think that, oh, that's just something that you're thinking. And that's the second time in my life that that's happened, you know, and you would think you learned from the first time, but sometimes you forget. And the first time was years and years and years ago for me, when I lived in Georgia, and I drove to Atlanta every day for work. And on my way home from work one day, I was, of course, in traffic, because Atlanta traffic is horrendous. And so I was driving home from work, and there were several different little side roads that I could take. And sometimes I would just take a side road because I like to see something new and something different than driving the same route every day. So I'm thinking, nah, I'll just keep going the way I normally go. And then the next little side road came up and something said, you should turn here. And I was like, nah, I'll just stay on this road. May as well just stay on the main road. I heard that 4 different times, 4 different little side streets. You should turn here. And I didn't. And so I got to the red light where I usually turn, and I'm sitting in the right turning lane, and I'm sitting dead still in traffic. You know, traffic's really thick. And so I'm sitting dead still, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, somebody hit me in the rear end. And I mean, he hit me. When he hit me, he was going at least 55 miles an hour when he hit me. He never put on his brakes. He hit me so hard that it threw my glasses off my face. And I had my seatbelt on, thank goodness. But still, you know, if I would have listened to that voice and turned when it told me to turn, I would never have gotten in that car accident. And I had just bought my car. I had it 2 weeks. And I was so upset because that was like one of my favorite. It was a little Nissan Maxima, and I loved that car. I was so excited to have that car. And then they totaled it. Sorry, y'all may hear the dogs bark. The neighbor's dogs barking, so they think they have to bark too. So anyways, the whole point is that sometimes He speaks to us, and when He does, we think it's just our own thoughts, because a lot of the time, His voice sounds just like our voice, and we're thinking, you know, oh, that's just, you know, a thought that I'm having. No, sometimes it's Him. So, and that got me to thinking a little deeper, and I was thinking about what significance that has throughout the world, not just me and in my little life here in my own little world, but what kind of a significance does that have across all the nations of the world? You know, and in all the chaos that we're in right now. Hang on, I got to grab something. Okay, sorry about that. So I just wanted to grab some ledger paper, because I want to put some ledger paper here to journal on. And so I thought I could use, these are my blank ledgers in my shop, and I thought I would put a piece here so that I can journal there, like so. And that way it'll give me a little spot to journal on. So anyways, it got me to thinking about, you know, I've heard so many people before, like when bad things happen, like the whole 9/11 thing, or any kind of something that was destructive that people felt like God should have stopped. And it got me really questioning, you know, why didn't you stop that? And He showed me very clearly, and He said, it's because I cannot interfere with the will of man. Like, He gives us free will, and He talks to us, but it's our willingness to actually hear His voice and heed His voice that sometimes causes people to do bad things and not listen to his voice telling them not to. I hope that sometimes I have a hard time putting things in word. I have a hard time articulating the thought, but I'm hoping that kind of gives you an understanding of where I'm trying to go with that. So, for instance, Vladimir Putin, attacking Ukraine and killing so many innocent people. And I sit and cry when Mom usually watches the news, and I just cry. It just breaks my heart. And, I just wonder, and so what I've been doing is I've been praying for Vladimir Putin, for him to not just hear the voice of the Lord, but to heed it, to obey it, and God's not going to force himself on anybody. He's a gentleman, so he's not forcing himself on anybody that doesn't want to talk to him or hear him. So I've just been praying for Vladimir Putin to hear and heed the voice of the Lord. I've been praying for Joe Biden to hear and heed the voice of the Lord. And, all we can do is pray and have faith, because, it just seems so hopeless, and we feel so helpless in these situations, that our well-being, our economy, so much of the things that affect us are in someone else's hands. And so you can get really, really bogged down with fear and worry over those things. But if you pray, then just pray and have faith and trust and believe that God knows what's best for us. And no matter what happens, he will get us through it one way or the other. So I'm not meaning for this to take a negative turn, but I know that that everything that's going on with Russia and Ukraine right now is on people's minds, and it's not just affecting Ukraine, it's affecting the whole world. And so I want you to know that there is hope, because Vladimir Putin has the ability to hear the voice of God. So does Joe Biden and all the other world leaders who need to hear God's will, So we just have to put that in his hands. So anyway, the main point I was trying to get across is that sometimes the voice of the Lord is that still small voice in your head that you think is your own thoughts. Some people call it women's intuition, or intuition. It may be for a man or a woman, Some people call it fate or karma. But it's, it basically all boils down to, let's just perk our ears up to hear him a little better, and to really think twice, if I would have, because when I heard that voice, when I was getting ready to get out of the car with my keys, when I heard that voice, I paused. I hesitated. I almost left my keys in there. And then I thought, nah. And if I wouldn't have done that, just in a split second, I wouldn't have went through all of the chaos and the panic of thinking, I wasn't going to be able to be there for my friend and all this good stuff. So anyways, hopefully that, gives you a little bit of something to chew on, something to think about, and gives you a little bit of hope. There is hope in all of this. There is hope. We just have to hear his voice and listen for his voice. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of these labels, maybe decorate with them a little bit, right here. But I want to put the verse on here and something about the voice of the Lord here. And then I'll do a little bit of journaling on here and maybe add, I don't know, maybe a page tab or something. Like so. So I've got this all in here. I hope that this has been helpful to you today. I hope it hasn't been too chaotic or confusing. I feel like I've just kind of been real chatty and telling the story and everything. Anyway, hopefully it will help you. If you have any comments or questions, leave them in the comment box below. I'll be glad to help in any way that I can. Don't forget to like and subscribe for me if you will. And I just hope that you remember today how much he loves you. Big hugs.